Okay. I wrote a short story called But I Did Love You. Um, and it's 11 pages long, so I'm just going to read the first little bit of it. Okay. When she opened her eyes, she was walking, being thrown into the middle of a life that wasn't hers. As far as any eye could see, there was soft white sand that was lighter than air. Every single grain reflected a bright reflected the bright sun into her eyes. She noticed it was being blown into the horizon. The sand was dry and delicate under her bare feet. The weight of her frame sank in ever so slightly. She wasn't standing she wasn't standing on the sand of a beach looking over a vast ocean. Rather, her eyes could only see an ocean of sand. As her view panned over the horizon, she noticed a monster of a man. He was built like an ox, stoic, tattooed from toe to tip. A barreling chest was struggling with the black shirt he was wearing. His dark buzzed hair and red beard sat sharp on his face. His menacing aura overwhelmed the space around him, sending a chill down her spine. She could sense he was a dangerous man. His eyes were big His hands were big and strong enough to squeeze the life out of a beast twice her size without breaking a sweat and feeling no remorse. She approached the man with no caution. Why wasn't she scared? His silent siren call drew her to him blindly. She felt something about him in this place. She had a strong gut feeling that he couldn't hurt her here. She focused on his hands again as he moved about his space. They were familiar in some strange way. They were so strong, so rough, so unforgiving, so fatal. She was approaching without fault, but he must have sensed her closing in. He looked up right into the deepest part of her soul, through her eyes. All at once her heart seized and his Medusa gaze turned her to stone. She knew his face, and she wished it was one she could forget. It was clear from the beginning what I wanted, and everything I definitely didn't want. What I couldn't handle. It seemed like such an innocent thing. I could never fathom how twisted his thoughts of me really were. I would never have guessed he would have taken something so pure and untouched from me. I was drawn to him and his energy. He gave me promises of everything I wanted out of a life, partner, and lover. Who else would be crazy enough to jump with her into the freezing lake willingly in the dead of winter just for the hell of it, and emerge with a childlike smile wider than my own? My broken inner child was coaxed out in his presence and felt safe, safer than with my own family. I laughed harder with him than I had since I was an ignorant child. If I looked in on myself from outside my body, I knew I was glowing. The chemistry between us was electric, and my heart skipped a beat every moment he looked into my eyes. He knew I wanted to hold off until I was in love with someone. He loved me, who loved me just the same. I had so much love to give him when the time was just right. Oh my god. God, bingo. Okay. Jesus. Okay. He knew I wanted to hold off until I was in love with someone who loved me just the same. I had so much love to give him when the time was just right, and he was willing to wait for me. He wanted to wait for me, right? He said he would wait. He said he was patient. He said he cared for me. I didn't realize it was possible for no to not mean no anymore. The word lost all palpable meaning. How could he ever stomach doing something so wicked to me? Installing fear into the very person he claimed to care so much about. After all of the joy he had charmed into my very being, the same being that he tainted for all of eternity. The same inner child that he had drawn out of me, he killed in one fell swoop. No witnesses. It started with something so innocent, so safe, laying in bed together, so close and so wonderfully warm. A kiss on the cheek slowly draws a beaming smile to my face that couldn't be contained, and another, many more to follow. The gesture brings love into my heart, but it still isn't time. He takes a slow breath, speaking into my ear softly. Remember when you asked how I would start? I thought it was just a flirty phrase, something to get me going. My stomach drops when I realize it was serious. He's on top of me now, powerful and confident. His weight is overbearing to my figure. His silhouette overpowers the dim light behind him, and when I see him pull out the small square wrapper, a small part of me dies. My mind begins racing. But he knows I'm not ready. He asked and I said no. He asked again and I said no. Just the night before, he asked yet again and I said no. So why? Why is this happening? It hurts. It hurts my mind, my soul. It hurts my body. It hurts my heart. I thought he knew. I thought he understood. Stop. Stop. Stop! Why can't I speak? I'm petrified, frozen in time. All I can think about is the pain, emotional and physical. It was all a lie. He doesn't care about me. He never did. I tighten my eyes and just breathe. Breathe. I pray it's over soon. Even if it is, that's it. It's over. He's taken something from me that I can never get back. My pride, my trust, my heart. He shattered it all. Then it was over. In the blink of an eye, every ounce of being was stripped from her. She remains an empty shell, unable to undo what has been done. A shadow followed her from that day on, one that, as time went on, would fade, but could never truly disappear. Okay, I filmed that at my friend's house when I was watching her cat. But the story, But I Do Love You, is about my character eventually goes on to face this man who sexually assaulted her. And I think if I was going to rewrite it, I would come up with a metaphor for that part of the story, because I think it is a little too on the nose. This is the first short story that I've ever written, and it hit some nerves. It kind of sent me into a little bit of a pit of depression, and my grade plummeted. So I am praying that what I was able to do for the final is enough to keep me passing. But it's ironic that later in the story, the main character saves her antagonist from drowning, because me personally, and I just realized this a little bit earlier, I use drowning as a big metaphor for my depression, and I've been going through it for a while. But it was a very emotional story for me to write. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think I will still mess around with it and the idea, and kind of see if I can change it in a way, but I think it's pretty good for a first story. And I really want to continue writing creative stories and playing around with the metaphors and what I am and aren't, what I use in a literal sense and what I don't, and play around with different characters and euphemisms and things like that, because I think I have a lot to say, and I want to do it in a creative, fun, kind of can be in a lighter hearted way.